I know it doesn't look like it right now, but believe it or not, this is getting real close to being started. There's just one thing stopping me, and that is power. No, I don't mean horsepower. Hopefully that'll come soon. But what I actually mean is electrical power. So in this episode, I'm installing a new battery and a battery control panel. To begin with, I'm going to be installing the battery. Now hopefully you've seen my video on the Mark 1 where I changed from the old MX5 style battery to an 063 battery using a G19 battery tie down. Now the same with the Mark 2, I'm going to be changing from the MX5 battery to an 063 battery, but there's no special tie down equipment to do this. But luckily it's pretty quick and easy to do. However, if I thought about this more when I was redoing the whole chassis, you've got two sunken bits in the boot back here, which looking back at it now, I would have liked to cut that flat with the bottom of the boot, which is going to allow all the air and all the smoke to escape from this wheel well and out a lot more easier. But now since I've redone all the chassis, that's going to be a lot of work. So I'm going to keep with the original battery location down here. If I had cut all this out and flattened this off with a nice bit of sheet metal, I could have just used an 063 battery holder, which would have sat there nicely. So for now, unless I do change my mind, the battery's going right there. This is the original battery tray from this car. I'm not sure why it's so gross right here, but as you can see, the new battery just isn't going to fit in that tray anymore. Fitting a new battery tray in the battery recess is going to be a little bit of a nightmare. So I'm going to hoover that out, take a tack rag to it and some isopropyl alcohol and get that area nice and clean. And this is in the preparation for something called Dynamat. Make sure you're wearing gloves when you're handling this, as it's really sticky. So I'm going to peel the backing off and lay that down in the battery well. You can use some rollers to form it to the shape of the car, or a tennis ball does a pretty good job. That's all applied now, and I've cut out my two drain holes. You never know if I'm going to need them. Now this is going to do two jobs. It's going to stop the battery sitting on a metal surface, and because the exhaust is right underneath it, it's going to protect it a little bit from the heat. I am probably going to have to heat wrap the tip of the exhaust. Batteries don't like it to be too hot or too cold. So I've got a rubber bung to put in this big hole, like that. But this hole back here is for the battery drain. That is there just in case that battery acid wants to get out of that battery. Instead of going in the car, it's going to go out onto the floor. And I've got a bit of cushioned plastic to go in there for another layer for the battery to sit on. Now it's time for the battery. Now because this battery is a different shape, the battery tie down doesn't fit on anymore. But a simple solution is to cut this tab off, move it along and weld it back on. A quick test fit. That's nice and secure, that's not going anywhere. That deserves a lick of paint. That looks loads better. Now onto the wiring side of things. I'll start off with the ground cable, which goes from the battery to this hole here. Now a few years back, I had quite a problem. I was cruising along, all of a sudden, the cab filled with smoke and the car was on fire. And it turns out, it was the ground cable. I'm not sure why or how, but this did catch on fire. You can see it's pretty melted here, and all the plastic sheathing has melted off here. So that's no good anymore. There is just enough cable for me to cut it here and get rid of all the melted stuff and reattach it to the chassis here. That's better. Now that's ready to go in that hole there. Please, no more fires this time. But because I've got rid of this portion of the earth cable, that's going to have to be replaced. And I've made myself a nice new earth cable with a battery clamp on the end. That should do nicely. The same unfortunately happened with the positive side. I did have a battery isolator installed, and I'm not quite sure how this fire broke out. But hopefully this time round, doing everything properly, I shouldn't have this issue. This old isolator is actually about to fall off. Yep, I thought so. It's time to do this properly this time. I've neatened that positive cable up, put a bit of protection on it, and now it's ready for a proper battery isolator. It just wouldn't be a Project 380 video unless I've gone completely overboard. So I've made myself a battery isolation and accessories board. I made a little steel frame and finished it off with a nice sheet of carbon fibre. And on here I've got my battery isolator that goes straight from the battery to the main power wire of the car, and it also splits off around the back into 4 separate wires that go to a nice fuse box that I can run some accessory features off. For example, the fuel pump hardwiring kit. That could go straight into this fuse box here, and then I've got space for 3 other accessories in the future. I've also added a button activated voltmeter, and I'll show you how this works once it's installed in the car. Inside the car, just behind the battery, I've placed 3 nutserts. That's what I'm going to secure that battery isolation plate on with, but before I bolt it up, I need to connect the positive wire to the back of the battery isolator. I'm first going to remove the isolator key completely, just in case anything bad happens, and then connect the positive lead. That is looking really good. I'm really happy with that. Now for this button activated voltmeter I've put in. At the minute, it's not doing anything, so we have to pop the isolator switch in. Now I just hope nothing blows up. Well, that's a sound I haven't heard in a very long time. Well, I'm guessing my keys are in the ignition. Yep. Well, at least nothing blew up. Back to this voltmeter. I could come into the back of the car, press this button, and see what voltage the battery is at, and what amps are being drawn without actually having to go inside the car. For example, if I've left the car for a month, come back to it and I want to check the battery quickly, press the button, see that it's above 12 volt, and I know I'm good to go with this battery. At some point I will attach a safety cable to this so you can operate it from outside the car. Just in case there's an emergency, someone else can operate it and shut all the power off to the car. Let's turn that back off before I drain anything. And while we're on the subject of things draining, the car isn't going to be started for a while and I won't be using it, which means the battery won't be recharging. So the battery is going to sit here and drain away. And after time, that battery is going to drain down so low that it won't be able to be recharged. So while it's not being used, we really want to maintain that battery. And I'm going to do that simply by using a solar maintenance charger. This is going to trickle a few milliamps into the battery, hopefully maintaining that battery and making it last a lot longer. It's a really good idea to grab yourself one of these if your car is going to be stored over winter, or if your car is a track car and it's going to be stored for a few months while you're not doing track events. Because if not, I guarantee you, when you're ready to use the car, that battery is going to be useless. So I'm going to pop this in a nice sunny area. You could put this on the roof of your garage, on the wall of your garage. I'm quite lucky, I've got a little window in my garage that I haven't opened for 3 years. So I might as well make some use out of that window. The solar charger that I bought comes with an inline fuse and a quick connector that I've just put here for easy access, and I've connected them straight to the battery so I don't need this isolator key in for the battery to charge off the solar charger. All I've got to do now is plug this in and leave it to charge. The last thing to do is to attach the battery breather to the side of the battery. That's going to allow any harmful gases or liquid from the battery to escape out of the car. So that's a nice new 063 battery installed with the right modifications to secure that battery down, battery isolator and accessories panel all installed, and a solar charger to help maintain that battery. If this video helped you install any of this, let me know in the comments down below. Like and share this video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.